Welcome back to another episode of Little Whimsey. We'd hoped to get this out before Christmas. We should have known better. We're probably not the only ones whose lives get a little busier at this time of year. The good news is, despite postal strike and everything, what we needed got delivered. We did a lot of in-person shopping, just like the good old days. And fortunately, we finished the shopping before the shopping finished us. I was able to get a few things unexpected for my dearly beloved. She loved them. The biggest gift that any of us got probably went to my granddaughter. Now, she had asked her grandmother for a Nerf gun, and her grandmother promptly replied that Nanny does not do guns. Talk to your uncle. You may remember the uncle who's in the army. Yeah, and things escalated from there. When his brother found out what was going on, he promptly bought an arsenal for his own use. And Christmas morning, we went over to have a visit at their house, and my presence was requested in the basement to look at something. So after 30 minutes of some assembly required, batteries not included, in case of emergency, look at the instructions, we had a complete armory assembled. And when my younger son and his friend arrived, the battle began. And it was a Nerf gun war unparalleled in family history. And trust me, we've had a few. But the definite winner was the belt-fed Gatling machine gun, followed closely by the powered pom-pom unit. And the rest of the rifles were simply just amazing. And even my wife, who does not do firearms, proved to be pretty lethal with a machine gun. You learn something new every day. I went to the kitchen for a coffee at one point during the height of the battle. Strategic retreat, I call it. Turned around and there must have been 3 to 4 dozen rounds in the air. Little foam cylinders. It was marvelous. It was hilarious. We were screaming, laughing, running, all at the same time. Great way to spend a little time on Christmas morning. A lot of our time has been occupied with company, both expected and unexpected. It's great to catch up with some friends and family. And yeah, some of the unexpected company, it was just nice to have them drop by. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of what happens when unexpected comes into the driveway. In our yard, we have 2 post feeders, 2 hanging feeders, and a couple of feeding stations. And a wide variety of birds, some squirrels, generally partake of those facilities. And occasionally some others come in just to clean up the leftovers. It is rather nice. I guess one of the lessons we've learned from looking at the wildlife in particular, I know there's a philosophy that says for human beings we're very unhappy just to be. Most of us are busy carrying baggage from the past into a future that we worry about. And it's kind of difficult to put the baggage aside, let the future look after itself, and simply enjoy the moment. Nerf gun battles are a great way of just enjoying the moment. There are some other things too. That lack of perfection I mentioned in one of my earlier videos. For instance, the trains of Little Whimsey. Here's Big Red, our one and only diesel locomotive. Big Red has one major technical issue. He was in storage for 30 years with a C-cell battery in its compartment. You can imagine after 30 years of slow corrosion what that compartment looks like. And one of the chores I am going to face this year, amongst others, is restoring that battery compartment, which gives Big Red his air horn, so he'll have a voice again. I take heart knowing that it took engineers and others a good long time when they first invented the diesel electric locomotive. They found one thing: people didn't recognize the sound of the horn. So what they had to do was go back and musically find a horn that would reproduce in pitch and tone and quality the sound of a steam whistle, so that when people heard it, they knew there was a train coming. Now, my oldest engine here, Little Joe, as a steam engine, he is a 464. Now, that's 4 guide wheels in the front, 6 big drive wheels, and 4 guide wheels at the back. 464. Little Joe was a failure when he was invented. They made a lot of them and they didn't sell. So some bright soul decided that Little Joe and his compatriots would make ideal Christmas gifts in toy train sets. And they packaged them up with some track and cars, and they sold like hotcakes because they did not put a big price on them. Oddly enough, as the children who received them grew older and a lot of them lost interest, the toys were misplaced, broken, damaged, or simply thrown out as superfluous. Little Joe is now a rare commodity, and I'm pleased to say he is still running. Unfortunately, Little Joe's tender is not quite so proficient at running. I had it repaired a while back and it worked fine. Gave that beautiful steam locomotive whistle, but then it decided to do so non-stop, which is rather annoying. So I'm going to have to disassemble that and figure out how to make it voluntarily unplug, but still operate when I want it to. The locomotive that my son got me with the secondhand train set he found, which was virtually new, is a 442 locomotive, 4 guide wheels in front, 4 drive wheels, and 2 guide wheels behind. It worked perfectly when I had the track set on the floor. When I put it on the table, it kept jumping the tracks and derailing. And I was imagining all kinds of engineering feats that I would have to do, tweaking and adjusting to get the front guide wheels to stay on the track. And I was talking about it with our pastor, actually. You know, pastors have to listen to everything. Just ask your pastor. And he calmly suggested that I simply put a small weight at the front of the guide wheels, and it worked like a charm. Unfortunately, the headlamp also requires work because it is not, the actual real light is not quite in the correct position, and it glows as much down as it does out the front ports. So I'm going to have to, for about the 4th time, take this little puppy apart and very painstakingly attempt to remount that light in the correct position, as well as fixing it there so when I put the whole thing together it doesn't promptly dislodge and illuminate the ground in front of the engine. It's interesting that things that happen, we had an avalanche in Whimsey Park last week. Took me a couple of days to figure out how to repair it. And today the slope is slipping again. So I'm going to have to get in there and do some real reconstruction to figure how to hold the whole thing together for another couple of weeks. Little Whimsey does run regularly now. We have calls from grandchildren out on the other coast who want to see the trains running and want to see the village. And of course, we're always more than happy to fly out back, turn things on, and get it up and running for them. In addition, a lot of the people that drop in ask if the trains are up and running. They've disappeared from our living room, and people get a little curious. Do you have them? Are they up? Where are they? Well, they're out back now because 3 sheets of plywood was simply too much for our living room. What I'd really like to do is double the size. It would give me a lot more opportunity to play with trains, and I'm looking at the chance to put in an elevated track too, hung on the wall, because I do have a fourth engine. It's not running yet, but the good Lord willing, we could get that up and running and do a village extension. I think it's thrilling. It doesn't take much to thrill me, obviously, but yeah, it's interesting to contemplate. And how we would do that, I have no idea. But I know the possibilities are there, and it may all come to fruition in time. But I'm not going to panic about the future. I'm not going to worry about the future. I'm going to let it happen. And we'll see which way it takes us. Life is always an adventure. You go to visit children and grandchildren at Christmas and wind up with a monumental Nerf gun battle, which you have to get out of because you need to get home and put the turkey in the oven so they can come over and enjoy your house without the Nerf guns. But I do have trains. It's fun. You have to take advantage of the opportunities and recognize them when you see them. And it's been a great holiday so far. It's going to continue into the new year. And at that point, we are going to be very busy, not only with routine life, but with future plans. We do plan for the future. Sometimes those plans even work out, which is even more interesting. Thanks for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you've enjoyed this. I will let you know how I make out repairing the ski slope. And yes, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I suspect Little Whimsy will be running on demand for all those who want to stop and just be in the moment with a little whimsy.